And we're on. Hi, everybody. This is Paranormal, and we are your hosts. I am Rachel, and
I'm Kaz.
yay!
Barely.
Barely, yeah. Yeah. You know, I think everyone is getting the flu now, so I had it. It was awful. Now it's your turn.
No. I'll be good.
Oh, pardon me. And I still cough. And I am still exhausted because last night I was in New York.
I know.
It was quite interesting. We were back at Wildwood Sanitarium in Salamanca.
So exciting.
Fun times. We
I
just
can't wait.
added our names to where we had signed before.
Oh, good. The rest
Except
of the crew.
I showed Ryan where Ryan was not here, and he didn't write anything. He was supposed to write, but I am now.
I know. You could have crossed it out and been like, just kidding, I'm back, or whatever.
I'll just have to wait for the next time.
I was just going to say, guess we got to go back.
Darn, eh? Darn.
I'm excited for you guys to go through your evidence because that's where we found the cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stuff, honestly, when we were there was happening, but it wasn't until afterwards. And I'm like, wait a second.
Well, you saw, if you watched the live video on the Paranormal Seekers page, like you probably saw me like walk up to the window and like pan over, and I'm like, nope, gotta walk back. And then I start, because it's just one fucking window.
Yes.
There was nothing there. And I showed Lori, who is Brooke's mom, I showed her the video and the pictures, and she's like, oh my God, that looks like a nurse.
Right? Like, it is tough to, we can't stamp it 100% paranormal, but when you have what looks exactly like a nurse in her uniform from the 1900s, which would have been very appropriate, turn and start walking away, it's really hard to be like, that's just a reflection of, I'm not even sure what, we're on the second floor. Nothing's in that room.
No.
We aren't reflected, and it would, anyway, whatever. Yeah. We'll get to that.
Once we figure it out, we will post it.
Yeah.
Because until then, we're still figuring it out.
Well, next time we go, we'll do like a full-on, like try and debunk it. We'll figure it out.
Oh yeah, 100% we will, because we can.
Yes.
All right. Well, today's topic is all about legends and folklore in the Great White North here, because it's literally white outside right now.
It's snowing. Sure is.
It's snowing, and it's just gonna keep snowing. And I'm done with the snow, but you know. So yeah, so I don't know. Well, might as well just jump right into it.
And let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna go first. So my first little folklore legend of the Great White North here comes from British Columbia. So in British Columbia, there is the Okanagan Lake, and in that Okanagan Lake is said to live a lake monster called Ogopogo.
Oh, it can't be scary if it's Ogopogo.
No, it's Ogopogo. She, whatever. The lake monster is the Canadian version of the Loch Ness. At least one of them. Yeah. So this lake monster has been mostly described as being a serpentine creature with smooth, dark skin, with a large body thicker than a telephone pole, and being up to 15 meters, or in Canada, 49 feet, in length. It is said to move with incredible speeds, coiling its body in vertical undulations. So that's like the...
Oh, right. The typical Loch Ness look.
Yeah. And propelling itself with a powerful tail. Many have compared this lake monster to being strikingly similar to the cryptids Cadborosaurus or the extinct Basilosaurus, whatever those are.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is said that the Ogopogo is more closely tied to native myths than any other lake monster. So the natives in the area regarded the Ogopogo as an evil supernatural entity with great power and ill intent.
Of course.
It's got various translations of its name. One of them refers to water demon, or they call it water god. One even translates to sacred creature of the water.
Oh.
But in native
one.
lore, this Ogopogo demands a live sacrifice for safe crossing of the lake. So
All right,
for hundreds of years, the First Nations people would sacrifice small animals before entering the water.
I legit thought you were about to say small children, which I get because
no.
they can be annoying. But wow. Oh.
Animals, small animals. So like, here, Lake Monster, please have my squirrel.
So like when they say sacrifice, do they like slit his throat and throw it in, or do they throw it in and they're like, good luck, squirrel?
It's a live sacrifice, so I'm going to assume they just like pick the squirrel up and toss it.
Just punt it into the lake.
Yeah.
Wow.
See how far we can get this one. So the first,
you know what? We have a lot of squirrels and they're assholes around here. So if anyone's looking for some live sacrifice participants, come my way.
Mine too. Come take my freaking demon squirrels. So in 1872, that was the first detailed Ogopogo sighting from a white settler, and it was a woman named Susan, and she was the first non-native person living in the region, establishing relations with the native people who saw this.
Oh,
yeah. So in 1968, a man by the name of Art noticed something moving in the lake as he was driving along Highway 97. He pulled off the road to film it, and he claimed that the footage of the alleged creature showing like the large wake, so the waves that it was making, moving across the water, he determined that this Ogopogo was about 100 meters offshore.
Mm-hmm.
In 1980, around 50 tourists watched this alleged Ogopogo for about 45 minutes off a beach in Kelowna. One of the tourists captured 10 seconds of the sighting on film. Some skeptics have suggested that this looks more like a pair of otters in the water than a lake monster.
Okay, big difference between some otters and like 150-foot long serpent.
Unless we have 150 feet long otters.
Yeah, like I don't know. I mean, there are giant otters. I don't know that they live in BC, but I don't think they're that big. Imagine they're like the equivalent of standing on someone's head and then putting a trench coat on, and they're just like,
oh my god,
around with the tourists, and they've put like a little thing on there, like.
So all those damn squirrels they put in the lake.
They formed like a big long snake. That's amazing.
They've mutated.
Yeah, we'll get these fuckers.
Oh my gosh. So in 1989, a man by the name of John reportedly saw the Ogopogo and described it as being 35 to 40 feet in length and consisted of 5 sleek jet black humps with a lashing tail. Mm-hmm. He believed that it was swimming, so traveling in the lake at about 25 miles, or in Canadian terms, 40 kilometers an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. There was another sighting in 1989 in an area of log booms near Bear Creek. A man by the name of Ken and his 78 Ken, like Barbie and Ken, and his 78-year-old father Clem, like Clem.
Okay.
They were watching the area and they were recording on a video camera. Ken caught what he described as a slim serpent-like creature measuring up to 15 feet in length, swimming approximately 75 feet from their canoe. The creature slapped its tail before diving deeper with force that Ken described as being enough to have killed a man if it had hit him.
Well, beavers sound like they can bust you
Mhm.
up with their tail, so
Oh, yeah.
maybe.
Oh, yeah. Anything hitting the water hard sounds like it hurts.
Exactly. Belly flops. You ever done that?
Oh,
First of
yeah.
all,
Yeah.
damn.
So Ken returned to the location on a later date with his daughter. And they apparently had another sighting of the same creature. These sightings were cataloged in magazines and newspapers, and it appeared on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there have also been other sightings as well throughout the year. So you have 1992, there was a sighting, 2000, 2008, 2009, 2011, 2018, and 2024.
Wow.
So Ogopogo is out there.
That's a really new sighting.
Yeah. Literally, like last year.
Damn.
So yeah, there's a lake monster out in BC.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, I'm not a zoologist or anything, but they're supposed to, according to legend, whether it's Nessie or the Ogopogo, they're supposed to just look like giant snakes, essentially, right? And then they hump their way
Little
through the
flippers.
water.
Little
But
flippers.
oh, they do have flippers? Okay, because I was
Yeah.
going to say they can't propel themselves like that, like humping along without a big giant tail. But now I get it.
Yeah. Apparently Nessie's got like the little flippers. Like little flippers at the
Aww.
front, little flippers at the back.
Which is from the prehistoric
Yeah.
era, the amphibian type looking
Yeah.
things. Okay.
Yeah. Something like that.
All right. Now it's
Yeah.
plausible. Oh God. Anyone that's watching this on YouTube, I'm not in a porno starring the Bigfoot, even though it kind of looks like I'm ready for you, big boy. I'm just gotta lay down because I can't sit. And I don't know, I didn't realize this was the image. That's corn in his hand. Just to clear it all up. This is a family show, okay? So get your mind out of the gutter. But let's begin with Bigfoot behind me. And you know what they say about big feet. Anyway, so Bigfoot is an American name. So we're going to use the Canadian name, which is Sasquatch or Sasquatch or Sam Squanch if you watch the Trailer Park Boys. Canadian. So he is always described as a large ape-like creature who is bipedal, which means he walks upright on his legs. Now, the origins really, it's tricky. There are no specific dates because they date back all the way to Indigenous law. And it depends really where in the country or in the world you're looking. So as we're sticking to Canadian, most of the more known stuff comes from the early 1900s. And I'm wondering if that's just because we were allowing more Indigenous people to actually like say things and like getting to know what they were into.
Yeah.
Most of the Sasquatch sightings are in the west coast of BC and the bordering northern state of California, probably because it's the most densest, thickest forest. But they've also been sighted in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. I feel like you'd probably see them though if they were in like Manitoba, because you'd be like, "What is that thing
Especially
in the
Saskatchewan.
distance?"
Like, what the fuck is that out in the like field? Like the flat field.
Exactly.
There's like furry dude out there.
Like I'm not. I mean, there's not a lot of bush out there for them to hide in. So, but whatever. So the existence is suggested, but has never actually been fully scientifically confirmed. So even though for like well over a century now, people have been talking about the Sasquatch, finding evidence about this creature, there has actually been no scientific turning point where they're like, ha ha, this is it. So the Sasquatch is believed to be from, or the word Sasquatch is believed to be from the word Salish, the Salish word, which is Sesquit. Skits. I'm really butchering it. whatever. But it means wild man or hairy man.
Oh, I
Which I
still
believe are
use
also
that today.
categories on Tinder. If you can also go on Tinder and be like, I'd like the hairy man. Or maybe it's Grindr. One of the two. I wouldn't know, I swear. So, J.W. Burns coined the term Sasquatch in the 1930s. He was an Indian agent to the, I hate having to pronounce these names, Chehalis Band, which are now called the Saints Allies First Nation. I apologize in advance for butchering everything that I'm saying. So this tribe claimed to have had a really close bond with the Sasquatch. There was no information as to why they believe that, but that's what they've claimed. They've put claim to it. So again, he's often described, he or she, no discrimination here. The foot that is big is also described to be over 8 feet tall. And I think that's more so the men, because whenever they do describe females, they're much smaller. But apparently the men are pretty big. Hence the name. They're always covered in long dark hair, have giant feet, ladies, and their feet can measure up to 50 centimeters. It's pretty big. So the most famous Bigfoot footage is, of course, the Patterson Gimlin footage from 1967. That is from Northern California. So the two men, Roger Patterson and Robert or Bob Gimlin, were out. I think they were out actually trying to hunt the Bigfoot. And then sort of towards the end of their exploration, they were like, what the fuck? And then the rest we all know as history. But most recently, it has been deemed likely to be fake. I don't know who deemed it fake, but it was all over the thing. They're like, it's no considered bullshit. But kudos to them, because it's
kudos to the person in the monkey suit.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that footage has been analyzed so much by so many people that it's still up for debate. So I'm not sure who deemed it as being fake or how they stamped it as so. But for a very long time, and this is 1967. So first of all, video camera and film and all that stuff was at its like shittiest, really. So the fact that they've somehow faked it and for this long has kept people going, good for them. Good for them. Now, most recently, Todd Standing, I think his name is, claimed to have captured videos of Sasquatch in 2005 in Edmonton. I'd like you to all go watch. I believe a documentary came out on it too. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It's fucking bullshit. He has zoomed in pictures and it looks like someone's just wearing a mask. And I'm like, how is this ever? But it was like publicized and they did lots of like different stories on him. But it's out there and you can watch it. Renee, I'm not even going to pronounce their last name because I can't. They're a Switzerland immigrant, moved to BC in 1953, and since then collect hundreds of Sasquatch footprints and other evidence. He died in 2001 and dedicated his life to finding Bigfoot or Sasquatch, and unfortunately never succeeded, but is believed to have one of the biggest Bigfoot evidence collections out there. So in 1884, there was an article in Victoria's British Colonist that said, is claimed to be the earliest article of sightings about a half man and half bear. It wasn't an overly exciting read, but someone out there was like, holy shit, it's a half man, half bear. which is quite interesting that
Where
they
did you
would
get the
think
bear
that.
from? Bigfoot don't look like no bear.
Oh, sorry, beast. I can't read my own writing.
Oh,
Half
beast.
man, half beast. Beast bear.
Yeah.
Maybe he could look like. But see, bears do walk on their hind feet
Mm-hmm.
more often than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
And so if more so black bear, I'm not sure if grizzlies do all the time, but bears can be pretty big. So you could be like, whoa, what? If you've never seen a
What?
bear walking on its back feet
Mm-hmm.
before, maybe you wouldn't know. So Harrison Hot Springs in BC, where I have been, is like the Sasquatch capital, maybe. And they
Okay.
have a Bigfoot Day, which I
What?
did not write down when that is, but they go fucking crazy. And I guess so. We ended up in Harrison Hot Springs, which, if you ever go
Google
to
it.
BC, it is absolutely stunning. And they are legit hot springs. So where we stayed was this incredible hotel, and out in their like I don't know outdoor area are the hot springs, and you just go chill in them. Ah, it was beautiful. And then opposite was this beautiful lake, and then we drove up into like the logging area and just decided to go drive around. So yeah, I could see why Bigfoot would go up there because he's absolutely like that would be his environment.
So National
Um,
Bigfoot Day, okay, Sasquatch Day
mhm.
in Harrison Hot Springs is June 22nd.
There you go. I don't know why, but it is. And they go to town with the set squatch.
Clearly. Maybe we'll post a link for that.
Yeah, it's a great place. I highly recommend going, even if it's not Sasquatch Day. It's a great place.
Yeah.
Now, to date, there has been incredible amounts of footprint casts, photos and videos, and even hair samples, not just from BC, from around the world. Unfortunately, there has still been no scientific proof that this creature exists. Now, I'm sort of on the fence. I used to say, well, we've never found the remains of a Bigfoot, like ever. And if they exist, why? And then there was this documentary I watched where they're like, because they are so spiritual, they bury their dead. Okay, so we're their cemeteries, but whatever. But to counter that, I have also never come across a bear's remains.
Mhm.
So I guess
Yeah,
maybe maybe you're just not going thick enough into the woods. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, I will say this. For their size, bears move through the woods so silently. It is uncanny. You have no idea a bear is behind you until it's like, "Ah, la, la, la," and then you're fucked. They are so quiet. So, because people are like, how come you don't hear them coming, the Bigfoots? I think that's why. Like, they're just silent walkers.
With big feet. That's
Yeah,
probably why they don't make any sounds, because their feet are so big that it's not like crunch, crunch, crunch. It's like just like
exactly. Now, obviously, ghost hunters, we have been to so many places and still can't say for certain that we have like perfect evidence. So maybe it's the same thing. It's a tricky one. My other half, he's always like, how can you be so in belief of ghosts, but then when it comes to Bigfoot, you're like, it's all bullshit. And I'm like, well, you got a point there. Shut up. That's what I say. But it's true. I'm kind of on the fence about the big feet.
yeah, it's one of those things. I am too.
I think it's like a cool, there's been a lot of evidence of different humans now that they're finding, like types of humans. They found little hobbit ones out. I'm not sure, like Mayan, maybe. I just made that up. But anyways, but like a legitimate kind of race of humans. And then they found other ones that were really tall. So maybe, I don't know why they've gone to the woods, but honestly, some days when I'm out downtown Oshawa, I can
living off
see.
the grid.
Yeah, I can see why you'd want to go live off the grid.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, again, I would only imagine that BC is the hub because it is so beautiful and there's so much dense, untouched forest. But there are claims. This is obviously Sasquatch. Bigfoot is quite populated in the States, especially Virginia, I believe, has a lot.
Yeah, and like Florida has the skunk ape. And Yeti.
Oh God. Yes, the
Yeah.
Yeti. There's lots of different versions of them, but we have our own, the Sasquatch.
Well, I will talk about something else that lives in the forest.
Okay.
We've got I think it's the Wechuge. I don't know. I'm probably butchering that. And the Wendigo.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So both of these are native folklore. So they're very prominent in native storytelling and all that. So the Wechuge, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the hell out of this.
We're gonna get so many complaints after this fucking episode.
I'm being honest. Sometimes I can't pronounce words. All right. This Wechuge is a man-eating creature or evil spirit that appears in the legends of the Athabascan people. So in Beaver, which is known as Dane Za mythology, it is said to be a person who has been possessed or overwhelmed by the power of one of the ancient giant spirit animals, related to becoming too strong. So these giant animals were crafty, intelligent, powerful, and somehow retained their powers despite being transformed into the normal-sized animals of the present day.
Ooh.
Pretty much that one. Wendigo is a little different. So the Wendigo is a mythological creature or evil spirit originating from Algonquian folklore. The concept of the Wendigo has been widely used in literature and other works of art, such as commentary and horror fiction, like films and all that. So the Wendigo is often said to be a malevolent spirit, sometimes depicted as a creature with human-like characteristics, which possesses human beings. It is said to cause its victims to feel this insatiable hunger and the desire to eat other humans and commit murder.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes the Wendigo is described as a giant humanoid with a heart of ice, whose approach is signaled by a foul stench or a sudden unseasonable chill.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So the Wendigo is part of the traditional belief system of a number of Algonquin-speaking peoples, including Ojibwe, Cree, Innu, just for some of them. Although the descriptions of the Wendigo vary, common to all of these cultures, like all of these native cultures, is the view that the Wendigo is malevolent, cannibalistic, supernatural.
Ooh. Yikes.
And these beings are strongly associated with the north, winter, cold, famine, and starvation. Well, right now, Ontario's got the first three.
Right. Well, and we might have starvation soon,
Maybe
depending
famine.
how. I don't know.
So the Wendigo is seen as the embodiment of gluttony, greed, and excess. Never satisfied after killing and consuming one person, they are constantly searching for new victims. This is our native folklore, everyone.
Wow. How interesting. How do we protect ourselves if we see, or if we see it, we're screwed. That's it.
Pretty
Or
much.
you don't even see it coming. It's just like, oh, it's cold in here.
But if you look at like pictures of like the Wendigo, like we Google it, we'll post some. It's like this like human like tall thing with like a dead antelope or deer head with the big.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'd be running from that. I wouldn't be like, eat me, like fuck that shit. I'm fucking gone.
Yeah. Well, that's delightful.
Yeah.
And where does that mostly reside, did you say? Or those are just all
It is.
over?
It is just native. It's Algonquin culture. It's native folklore. So literally all of Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
just gonna
Well,
stay inside for now.
I'm pretty sure a couple people from the Paranormal Seekers have seen one at the place that shall not be named.
Well, that was where I remember you saying, you were like, I think we saw a Wendigo. And I'm like, what is that? And then
Yeah.
you sent me a picture. I'm like, the fuck?
What the fuck you
Oh.
see? Yeah.
Yeah, because I happen to love the outside of that place. And I was out there taking pictures, whatever,
Looking
peeing,
like a
because,
snack.
exactly. Put my pants down while I'm peeing in the dark. Remember when we heard that crazy sound?
Yeah.
Thank God I had just peed because we were like, something is legit walking right there.
Yeah.
Now we know what it was.
A Wendigo.
Great.
Yeah.
Where am I? Depends next time we go there.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just pick a room in the building and be like, this is the potty room.
Yeah.
What?
We're peeing in a bucket. Jeez. Okay. Well, let's move on to a little closer to home, a little. And that would be the Screaming Tunnel of Niagara Falls.
Hey, listen, I can say that I officially went there this time last year, literally this weekend, last year. And I was the only one who was like, la, 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 and everyone's like, this is fucking creepy. Oh my God, I don't want to be here anymore. And they all ran away on me. I'm just, yeah.
When I was reading this, I'm like, this is the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
Some of it is.
So,
Some of it
here we
is.
go. Okay, so this particular tunnel is located in Niagara Falls, just off of Warner Road. It runs underneath railway tracks that link Niagara to Toronto and to New York City. It was constructed in the early 1900s. Made of rough stone. It is, oh, I don't know what I wrote down there. 16 feet high. I'm like 100, I don't even know what I read. 16 feet high. Does that sound right? It sounds right. And 125 feet long. So legend has it, because there's a lot of different versions of what goes on here. Yeah. All of them end the same way. So the first legend is that there was a farmhouse located just past the south entrance of the tunnel. It caught on fire, and the young girl that lived there, engulfed in flames, fled the house screaming, trying to outrun the flames, maybe. She ends up going in the tunnel and trying to extinguish her clothes. Doesn't happen. She dies in the tunnel. Second legend, young girl was taken to the tunnel and set on fire by her enraged father when he learned that his ex-wife had been awarded full custody of the child in a recent divorce. Brutal. And then the third version is that a young girl was attacked and raped in the tunnel, and the attacker set her on fire in an attempt to cover the evidence. What? All brutal. Either way, the legend is there is a young girl in the tunnel. If you go into the tunnel and you go into the middle and you light a match, it is said to blow out, and you will hear this young girl screaming. Now, did that happen when you did it, or did you not do it?
No.
Of course.
We've lit match. I've licked my lighter. Didn't hear no screaming. However, I will say the tunnel smells like sulfur, and it's really strong. It's bad. It's bad, and it is creepy. I'm not gonna lie, it is creepy.
Well, I would think so. Like at night,
enough for our former police officer friend to be like, "Nope, I'm done. I want to leave. I'm out of here. Bye," and then run away. Yeah.
Well, sometimes he's a wimp. Now, there was a local historian who claimed that a woman who lived nearby would often go to the tunnel and scream to let out all of her frustration over the turmoil of her really shitty marriage. And that is actually how folklore began, is that people would just hear her screaming, and then, you know how stories evolve, and horrifically evolved into, let's talk about the murder and rape of a young child who got set on fire. but whatever. So yeah, I like this bullshit. I have been to the Blue Ghost Tunnel, which is not too far, but this particular one, I don't know. I feel like every sort of little town has a screaming ghost tunnel, or they have like the ghost lights from the motorcycle. That's like a typical
Yeah.
whatever one, and it ends up being a bit of a phenomenon, or
Yeah.
you know, like with the ghost tunnel
is.
one, or not the ghost tunnel. So the usually the ghost lights, it's just or the one that propels you up the hill. It's like an optical illusion.
Yeah.
I know with the Blue Ghost Tunnel, there's lots of water and it sounds like footsteps and it sounds like people talking. So I wonder if the Screaming Tunnel, same thing. It's like
Yes.
reverberation and it sounds like, and you're already heightened because you think a child's gonna scream.
Yeah.
But
There's definitely water that does run through the tunnel. It's like straight.
right. And I mean, it's still highly visited. I know the Blue Ghost Tunnel, they tried to board it up, and when we went, people had like busted it open, and there was like a lineup to go in it. And everyone's respectful. They're like, "Oh no, you go first. You go." So you get to go in and do your thing, and then you come out, and then the next batch of weirdos go in there. But yes. So if you're looking to go and decide for yourself, by the way, nothing was ever confirmed that this child somehow was set on fire. I couldn't even find anything to suggest that there was a house. I mean, the tunnel exists, we know this, but I couldn't find anything to show that there was a house nearby.
There's houses there. There's houses along that Warner Road.
But I meant like,
I know, like you're talking about on the other side. There might have been.
I went back to see, like, can I find old maps that show a house that was there, or any history to say there was a house and then it burnt down? There's nothing, surprisingly.
I know.
But it's law and people go there all the time.
Yes, they do. I've been there.
Well, sometimes you just gotta go, right?
I've been there twice.
Cool. Yeah.
Once during the day, once at night. I don't know.
There you go.
Some people didn't like it. I was fine with it. Just another hole in the wall. Literally. All right. So my next one, this is my last one. I was gonna do the Bluenose, but there's really no like the Bluenose Ghost. They call it that all the time, but there's really no stories on it because it was just it was a fishing ship and it won a bunch of races. And if you don't know, it's on the dime. It's the boat that's on our dime.
I'm legit thinking it's a ghost with a blue nose. I'm like, I can't wait for that.
It's a boat.
You and your fucking ghost boats.
It sank in the Caribbean. I know.
It sank in the Caribbean and then they put it on our dime.
Yeah, they put it on and then they made another one. So we have the Bluenose too. It's still out there in Nova Scotia. But anyways, I found something a little more different. This one is called La Corriveau.
Oh.
Yeah. Can we all guess where this is coming from? Fucking Quebec. Anyways. All right. So on April 15th, 1763, Marie Josephette Corriveau, known as La Corriveau, was condemned to death by an English army court-martial for murdering her second husband.
Okay.
So she was hanged on the plains of Abraham in Quebec City, and her corpse was left exposed in an iron cage for 5 weeks at Point Levé on the south shore of the St. Lawrence River. So
wow.
In a cage. But the circumstances around her crime and the odd fate of her body have become legend in Quebec in the centuries that followed her tragic story. So at 16 years old, Marie Josephette married Charles Bouchard, which was her first husband. 11 years later, and after the couple had 3 children, Bouchard died. Legend does suggest that Marie Josephette had killed him by pouring molten lead into his ear.
Jesus.
Some say they had no children, which was unusual in those days, suggesting that the marriage was unhappy. So as expected, the young widow remarried, this time to a farmer, Louis Etienne Dodier. It was a troubled marriage right from the beginning, spiced with disputes between Dodier and his stepfather, Joseph Corriveau. So tongues begin to wag throughout the community when Dodier was found dead in the stable, apparently kicked by a horse. So, killed by an animal.
Mm.
When the British doctor later reported that none of the wounds on Dodier's body could have been made by hooves, Marie Josephette Corriveau and her father were arrested.
Busted.
Yeah. So rumors began to, fly about the community. Marie Josephette and that she had killed her husband with a pitchfork and then dragged him into the stable. More scandalously, or as the legend goes, she let her father take the blame. She killed him.
Dad, I'm going to need you to do this way.
So, Marie Josephette was to then receive 60 lashes and have her hand branded with a capital M for murder. So, the night before her father was to have been hanged for this crime, he confessed and admitted that he had not been the killer. So the case was reopened and Marie Josephette was sentenced to hang. Because, back then we were just like, this one didn't do it. We're just going to do this one.
Wow.
Yeah. So after she was hanged, this was the British's idea and decision to not bury her, but rather put her body in a human-shaped iron cage, or gibbet, as it was called. The locals pitied Marie Josephette. She and the cage were placed at an intersection of commonly used roads, presumably as a warning to others.
Okay. But would she rot? So she was just rotting there?
She would just, I guess. I don't know.
Because you're in a cage. It's not like you're sealed. Oh, and the birds would get to you? Man.
So apparently the way that they treated her remains disgusted the locals, but because she was a convicted murderer, she was not allowed to be buried at a cemetery.
Well, what's left of her to be buried anyways if she's left hanging for 5 weeks in a cage?
Yeah. Ugh. So all of a sudden, the cage disappeared.
Oh, shit.
She disappeared in the cage. Everything just gone. So yeah, they don't know. She was just gone. So a lone night traveler named Francois Dubé, he hears an unusual tick-tock sound, which they recognize as where the locals recognized as the sound of the wind blowing through the cage and the bones of La Corriveau. So as night falls, this Francois takes pity on La Corriveau's soul and recites a prayer for the deceased.
Mm-hmm.
And that was especially important because La Corriveau never received any last rites from the church.
Okay.
So soon after reciting this prayer in the pitch black, Francois cannot see this, but La Corriveau has reached through her cage and is now climbing on his back.
Her spirit or her bones?
I don't know. This is how the legend goes. So La Corriveau wants Dubé Francois to piggyback her across the St. Lawrence to I can't pronounce French. So Ile d'Orleans, where her fellow witches and the will-o'-the-wisps are celebrating their Sabbath. Because the river is blessed, Le Corriveau needs the help of Francois, who is a good Christian, to help her across. Well, guess what? Francois, he passes out.
Oh,
He's
shit.
just faints. When he awakes the next morning, he assumes he assumes that his experience was just a dream until he sees an empty liquor bottle, which he concludes that Le Corriveau drank its contents.
Sure.
Others,
Uh-huh.
and then there's a little note here that says others might deduce something more obvious. Somebody else was a little drunk.
Mm-hmm.
So now that the legend is over 250 years old, it still causes a lot of emotion and stuff in Quebec. And it is generally now agreed that La Corriveau was a victim of spousal abuse and could not have received a fair trial, as it would have been conducted solely in English. Because,
Wow.
So
So
apparently there have been like a
remains
lot of movies and plays written about her, as well as a dozen books, and every so often her cage reappears as a temporary exhibit in Quebec City, only to disappear again.
what?
Quebec is
How? Okay.
Yeah.
So they're claiming when it appears that it's the real thing and then it's just gone again?
Quebec is
Yeah. They're drinking is what's happening.
there's a lot. They do, apparently.
Wow.
You know.
That's kind of
I'll bring the weird.
yeah. So the actual location where she was hung is still like around that you could go there?
I want to say yes.
Mhm.
Oh, do I have it where it says? So she was hung on the plains of Abraham. So yeah, you can still go there. That's a really it's actually a quite haunted place.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Mm-hmm. Go find the
All
lady in
right.
the cage.
Well, y'all buckle up for this last one, which is also going to be super fast because there's not a lot about it. So, Thetis Lake, is that how I say it?
I have no
Thetis?
idea.
All right, then that's how we say it. Thetis Lake Monster. Thetis Lake is located in Victoria, BC. Again, BC. They got some shit going on in there.
I know.
So, in 1972, two teenage boys were swimming and fishing in the Thetis Lake in the late afternoon, early evening. They claimed to see a large half man, half fish monster emerge from Thetis Lake. It grabbed one of the boys who managed to get away but did have a cut on his hand. It chased them along the banks. They got away and it returned to the lake. The boys ran to their home and they called the authorities, and the police did actually do an investigation. They found two other young boys on the opposite side of the lake who also claimed they saw the same creature. The description of the monster that they gave, where is it? Basically, I did write it. So, large man-like features, or sorry, a large man-like statuesque build, silvery skin, with scales, large webbed clawed hands, and spikes on its head. So the RCMP that went down there, they searched the all along where the boys had said that it chased them, including some of the shallow waters, and they found no evidence whatsoever. The two additional boys who had been on the opposite side of the lake 4 days later recanted their story and said that it was all bullshit. And the description of the monster greatly resembles the gill man from the film Creature of the Black Lagoon, which is from 1984, which happened to be playing on the TV, I think 3 days prior to the boys making the accusation. So, interestingly enough, though, natives have encountered and reported many encounters with a humanoid being that inhabits many lakes, including Thetis Lake. So over the years, there have been many reports of people seeing something that resembles half human, half serpent in the lake. But to date, no evidence at all. No pictures, no footprints, no scales. Nothing has ever actually been found.
I wonder if it rides Ogopogo.
Who knows?
Friends.
I'm
Maybe
sure
friends.
if you go down there, you find empty bottles of liquor where people are like, "I think it drank it on it." Yeah. Yeah.
And nowadays
So,
it'll be empty bottles of liquor and little end pieces of their blunts.
yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of them.
So the lake itself does, of course, have this rumor to it, and so people still go visit it and try and find this thing, but no, it was just two boys. They probably did something they shouldn't. The one kid's like, let's make up a story, and they did. And then the parents are like, let's call the cops, and they're like, shit, and they had to do it. I don't know how they wrangled the two other boys into it, but those two other boys recanted real fast. So that's the legend. No evidence at all.
Crazy shit up here in this part of the world.
It's so bizarre. I think though, it could be anywhere and anything. Like if you're out and it's dark, it'd be like, oh, legend has it. And then that's how it starts, and then it just goes to town. And especially when there's nothing to do. Like if you grow up in small towns, there's nothing to do but make up bullshit.
And like I always say, with folklore and like legends and stuff, there's always a bit of truth in there. It's just what that truth is, right? Like because people will like build on that little tiny truth till the story just expands, and then it's so like magical and fantastical. But there's always that little bit of truth in there, and what that truth is God knows what.
Exactly.
So maybe, you know, Ogopogo is a giant anaconda. I don't know.
Right.
Right.
And that's the fun thing is you just don't know. And I mean, as paranormal investigators, that's what keeps us going. Is we just don't know. And you always get just that little bit enough that you're like, fuck, like I can't 100% say that that's the ghost of a nurse in the window. But holy shit, it looks exactly like the reflection of a ghost of a nurse.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we keep going and doing it. Yeah. Because imagine if a ghost just showed up and they're like, here we are, you'd be like,
oh, you're a ghost.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
You stand there while I take your photo.
Right. That's probably why Bigfoot does not want to come out. It's like, I'm not doing selfies with these fucking people.
He likes to live in his secluded, off the grid life. Let him be.
Exactly. Like, look at this guy behind me. He's like, bitch, put your camera away. I'm just trying to, I don't know. What does it? Eat my corn.
Maybe he wants to make popcorn. I don't know. Maybe he's having a movie night with his wife. Who knows?
Or he's like, this GMO shit needs to go, is what he's really saying.
Yeah. But that's the, speaking of food, that's next week's episode.
Next week we're talking about ghost food?
Yeah, Dine with the Dead.
Oh, I'm like ghost food.
Restaurants.
Oh.
Yeah.
Exciting.
I know. We're gonna find some haunted restaurants and give you guys a list.
Yeah. That's next week. Ooh. I wonder if I can talk about the one I went to that time and got in trouble. Okay, I will.
Think about it, because I bet you it's out there.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So yeah, but that's some Canadian legends and folklore. So word to the wise, stay out of the woods.
Yeah. If you've seen a Bigfoot, let us know, or a Wendigo. Ooh.
I don't know if I want to meet a Wendigo. I'd rather meet a Bigfoot.
I don't. Yes. Well, because the Bigfoot would just be like, "What up?" Whereas the Wendigo would be like, "I eat you now." So yes,
The
I
Wendigo would
agree.
be like, I'm hungry. I want a snack.
Whereas this guy behind me is like, "Want some popcorn?" So
Yeah.
I hope that's what he's gonna say with that thing, because who knows? He's very suggestive in it,
I know, he's looking at you
like a bit like, and
what the fuck? Leave
the
me
way I'm
alone.
like
This is not
laying,
private time.
yeah,
Oh
to
my
add a
God.
soundtrack to it.
It's like 70s porn. They're super hairy.
Yes, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. All right, everyone. So that's our episode for today. So if you have any questions or comments, or you want to share your own stories, or you got your own legends that you know of, shoot us an email. Paranormalpodcast@gmail.com. That's PAREHNORMAL podcast@gmail.com. You can also shoot us a message on Facebook or Instagram, TikTok. Just look up Paranormal Podcast and you will find us because we're the only one. But yeah, so that's it. And I'm tired because I was up till 3 a.m. and now I'm
Nice.
gonna go to bed. And it's only 8 o'clock.
Sweet. That's the best time.
It is. Well, first I gotta get my kid ready for bed, but then I'll go to bed. But it's still
Yeah.
early, so it's great.
Good. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to drug myself and go to sleep as well. And hopefully wake up okay. But
So
we'll see.
I hope so, because you don't want this. Or you
Yeah.
don't want what we had, so
I'm probably going to wake up feeling great and be snowed in, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but
that's gonna be Thursday. When they're calling for another 15 centimeters of snow. Thursday. And then they're calling
welcome to Canada.
10 on Saturday. And then I think another
Yeah.
10 or 5 on Sunday because we haven't had enough snow lately.
Well, I don't mind when it's not like prime drive time, especially when I live out in the country. It's horrendous. So if it's gonna snow, let it be when we're just hanging out at home.
Yeah, I just want it to be summer. That's it. I'm done with fucking winter. Done. Just like this podcast. Done.
I am literally like, I know I just went away, but when can we go away again?
So, sunshine. But all right, everyone, have a great week, and we will talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.